On today's 30-minute mechanic, we're going to start putting this sucker back together. We're going to try to put the heads on it and get those dudes torqued down. So buckle up, let's go. All right, spent a lot of time this weekend getting heads cleaned up and getting the intake manifold cleaned up. And in the process, I discovered a few little issues. One of which was, I guess I threw those away. One of which was, see the head dowels in the block right there? The driver's side head had dowels jammed up in it. Now I don't know if they were causing a problem, you know, not letting the head sit down flush. I've got some pictures on my Instagram of what it looked like. But they shouldn't have been in there. So I got those removed from that head, so there shouldn't be any sort of hang up with it sitting flush on the gasket like it needs to. One of the other problems I ran into was their rockers. There's actually a pretty decent rocker. This looks like it really looks like an early Scorpion rocker. I don't know if I can focus. It doesn't look like your normal no name. I've had a lot of Scorpion rockers in my life, and this looks exactly like the ones I've had. It doesn't look like a no name rocker, so it really looks like a nice piece. The trunnion is nice and smooth, and the roller tip is real nice and smooth. But the problem I run into is under here. When they're adjusted down, the rocker body hit the fillets on the rocker studs. So it has some pretty thick guide plates in it. I think that just contributed to the problem. But it probably needs a push rod that's just a skosh longer to get that rocker up and away from that fillet down there. But these have all self-clearanced, so it's probably a non-issue there. It was probably an issue for a while when whoever built this thing first cranked it up. The rockers probably got loose, and they probably had to do some adjusting on them several times to make them sound right. But anyways, moving on. The other issue we ran into was on the intake manifold. I don't know if I can turn this over with one hand. It had the wrong. Let me flip it here. Okay, got the intake flipped over. Now, this is a manifold that has the EGR passage in it, and you can see the outline of the Felpro gasket, which for some reason Felpro thinks they need to make those really, really bell-shaped and big, which I've got a set of the same gasket, and that, whatever. That sort of works over there. Okay, but when you jump to the other side is where the problem comes in. Now, you put this gasket with this big bell-shaped hole in it, and if your gasket is not positioned properly, then you end up with a gap, or almost a gap, or basically it doesn't seal. It doesn't seal right across here. Now, if Edelbrock could just put a little bump in their casting right there, then it would be a non-issue forever and ever. But these, you can actually see the outline of the old gasket on there, and then you can see the dark spot right here where it was bleeding exhaust gases right into the valley of the engine. Now, this was all this was all gunked up in here, and I've cleaned it all up. So everything's been cleaned and it's all ready. It's all ready for reassembly. I did order some different gaskets because I noticed that was a problem, and I checked this gasket and I was like, well, crud, that one's not going to work either. So ordered some different gaskets that don't have a hole at all, which from what I've read is the go-to solution. It's a steel core Felpro gasket. I think it's number 1262 or something. But anyways, so that should fix our problem with our EGR leaking into the valley of the engine there. So anyways, let's move on to putting some stuff together. Okay. Like I said, I'm using some kind of ultra power gasket. I used it on the other motor with great success. So I'm just going to do the same thing with this one. Now, that being said, I did spray copper coat on the gaskets. I figure it can use all the help it can get. Okay, now one thing to pay attention with on small block Fords, big block Fords too. There's holes in the gasket. Those holes always go to the back. Otherwise, your coolant will not flow through the block properly. There's your coolant flows in the block, up the back, through the head, and out the intake. And if you put the holes in the front, then it's just going to go in the block and up and out. It's just going to loop here instead of going all the way through. I mean, it might circulate a little bit, but not nearly as much as you would like. Which head was which? That's a really good question. I don't remember. Not 100% sure that it really matters. Okay, I'm back. I had a moment. I was looking at these ARP washers, and if you can see the washer, you can see it has a, I don't know if that'll focus or not. You see it has a taper, and this side's flat, taper on the inside. Now, I was kind of curious as to which way those should go, so I Googled it, and I looked it up. It doesn't matter for studs which way it goes. The taper is there if you're using an ARP head bolt. The head has a radius on the bottom side of it, and that's to provide clearance for that radius on the head bolt. Now we're using nuts that are just flat, so it doesn't really matter. I'm kind of tempted, just because, kind of tempted to put the flat part up so the nut seating surface has a large area to seat, and put that side down. I don't know. Probably doesn't matter. I think ARP says it doesn't matter, so maybe I'll just put them taper side up again, just like they were. All right, now comes the fun part. You get to pick up a cast iron cylinder head and moose it over in there. I can't remember which head is which. I guess it really doesn't matter. So this thing's cleaned up pretty nice. Of course, it's not as heavy as like a big block Ford head, but still, it is no cakewalk, and I'm about to drop it. Oh, there we go. Come on. I don't know what I'm hitting. I have to grind my fingers off on stuff. Come on. Whew. Okay, I'm gonna have to change finger positions here. This is not as easy. Not as easy as it looks with head studs. Okay, heads on. Wow. Okay, let's get us some nuts. I think I got 5 nuts here with red paint on them. So those were nuts that were on the outside. I sure do like that it is not prone to falling off once you slip it on there. Okay. I was going to drop it there for a minute. It's not super light. You know what? I'm just going to put these on there just a few turns. Then I'm going to lube the threads with some of my lube over there before I tighten everything down. The other thing that's kind of weird about this setup here is 351 heads use a 1/2 inch head bolt. 302s use a 7/16. And so that means these head studs are kind of undersized for this particular application. They usually have these little reducer things that slip in there. I guess I should pay attention to which way I'm putting my washer on there. Need 2 more washers. No washers. Good. So I touch something, I drop it. More washer. One more washer. And I downloaded the instructions from ARP. I guess those nuts say ARP on the top side, don't they? Yep, they do. Instructions say torque them down in a sequence of 3 steps to 80 foot-pounds. Side up. Okay. All right, got the old goon pucky here. I'm just going to smear some on each stud. And that should sufficiently lubricate those. While I'm tightening them down. This engine has an unknown camshaft in it. I did measure kind of rudimentarily of whatever, measure the lift on two different cylinders, and I came up with both times 488. Now I don't know if that. I mean, I guess that's. I don't know what camshaft that is. I couldn't find one that had exactly 488 on the lift on the intake side. So I just kind of, I don't know what it is. Not super big. I mean, 488 isn't a great big camshaft. All right, let's grab a 5/8 and we can just spin those dudes down and we'll be ready to start torquing them. All right, got my 5/8. Don't worry, I'm just going to spin it down. That doesn't exude confidence there. This should just wheel down there. There it goes. And we'll jump back over here and do this side. Those have paint on them. It's that one probably had, it might have had paint on it too. I can't get to that one with this setup. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I just hit my head on the camera. I didn't duck low enough. Oof. Okay, just had a camera fail there. I stepped over to get a blue towel and whacked my noggin on the, what is that? Whacked my noggin on the camera mount and knocked it off. Okay, see if I can just spin that one down with my fingers. Oh, this is gonna take, that's gonna take forever. Probably do it this way. Okay. That on the floor. Now we got to go to 80 foot-pounds and set in 3 steps. I mean, of course, 80. How do you divide 80 by 3? Could go 25, 50, 80 is probably what I'll do. Handy dandy. That would be 20 and 25. And we'll just do the, probably should get a little short extension. Five. Should done. I was going to say you did it in the wrong order. Oh well. $25. $25. Okay, let's go 50 now. Let's see. Oops, look, I just went right past it. I did. I always back it up past and then tighten. You don't want to loosen to a torque setting. You want to always be tightening to a torque setting on your handle. 50. All right, we'll do it. $50. $50. 50, 50, 50. Come on, 50. This one. 50. 50. 50. Switch it around and push it that way. 50. Well, I thought that was RTV, but it's assembly lube. All right, last step. Back our handle off and go up to 80. Man, 80 seems low. Seems low, but whatever. That's what they say. I got the sheet of paper right over there that says 80 pound-feet. Foot-pounds, pound-feet, foot, whatever. Okay, here we go to 80. Come on, buddy. 80. 80. I feel like this is tighter than they were. Going back on tighter than they were when I took them off. 80. 80. Come on. Almost there. 80. This is the hard one to get to. Guess it's right there. 80. Next to the downpipe. Handle twist it a little bit. Okay. And then 80. These last two. There we go. Let's go around and give them a click. Clicker. 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 Okay. One again. Clicker. All right. One head installed. All right, spin you around to a little different angle here. Grab my other head gasket. That copper coat stuff is kind of sticky. Even though it looks like it's dry, it's still kind of tacky feeling. Now, notice the bolts, the holes are at the back. Always got to kind of pay attention to that and make sure I'm doing it right so I don't screw up and put a head gasket on backwards. And then I'm standing there wondering why the car is overheating. Okay. And there's got to be a better way to grab onto these things. Wish there was, but I don't think that there is. Problem is, I feel like I want to scoot them down farther than they need. Whoa, that was almost no good. Than they need to go. Where? There's that one. What's going on here? I could look through the hole. There it goes. Oh, oh, dog. The little wood thing I was standing on decided it wanted to scoot while I was leaning over the fender. So it squirted out from underneath my feet. Made me want to do a header into the engine bay while holding a cylinder head. All right, here's a quick look. Got the heads all torqued down, head studs, copper coated gaskets. Everything's looking good. I'm ready to get this thing back together and running again. So I guess that'll do it. That's going to do it for today. Got the heads bolted on and torqued down with our copper coated gaskets. Everything looks good. I'm pretty excited about this. So make sure you check the description. Check out my friends' YouTube channels and see what kind of cool stuff they're working on. But for now, like, subscribe, tell your friends, ring the bell, and we'll see you next time. Bye.